Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the MattyRocks Experience, the Instagram live sessions, interview number 6 of 2021. Tonight, I am very happy to introduce and bring in my next guest, music producer and keyboardist, Brockett Parsons. I'm going to wait for Brockett here. Wait till I see him. The delays of Instagram. It's definitely an interview that I'm excited to introduce to all of you and bring to you live. We'll bring on our guest here as soon as I see him. Oh, let me see here. Think he's coming. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. It is a cold, cold night here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Hope everyone is staying warm wherever you are. Getting some viewers in. Viewers, if you are just tuning in, we are bringing in my guest. Just waiting to see him here, waiting to get him on. Mr. Brockett Parsons, music producer and keyboardist, and otherwise known as a keyboardist for Lady Gaga. Coming at you live with MattyRocks tonight in a few minutes. I see my guest, bringing him in again. Music producer and keyboardist, Mr. Brockett Parsons. Mr. Brockett Parsons.
Hey, MattyRocks, how's it going, man?
It's going. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing as good as you could, no complaints. It's been
Right
a
on.
wild, it's been a wild year, but I'm just happy to be, happy to not be homeless and to be at the moment reasonably healthy.
Absolutely. These are all things we have to be thankful for sure. Happy New Year to you.
Oh, thanks, man.
And an interview that I've had on the bucket list for a while, and now I can officially check this off. So thank you again for joining me tonight.
No worries. I know you've been doing this. You've been in this game for a long time, man. So yes. I respect what you do.
Right on. Thank you. And the last time you and I chatted was at NAMM. I want to say it was 2014, 2015. We covered the piano arc for just a few minutes, but that was the last time we got to talk. So again, here we are.
Yeah, man. Glad to be here.
I know it's early into 2021, but have you transitioned into the new year well?
Um, I'm doing the best that I can, I think. I didn't really view the changing of the year as in itself necessarily, it's just it's just a name of dates, really. I think all the issues in the world, you know, they still exist. So, um, but I do think, maybe the new year did provide just a little bit of symbolic hope that, at some point, maybe there'll be some better days ahead.
Absolutely.
And let's just hope for the best and try to all off there. But what I'm saying is, um, we all just try to do our part, you know what I mean? And try to
Absolutely.
contribute to just sort of a better consciousness.
Absolutely. Brockett, if there was one thing during the quarantine time that you've learned about yourself, maybe something that you've never focused on much before, what would you say that would be?
I think I've always been a person that really just enjoys playing music. And it's like I became a musician based off of vibe. Like I just love the vibe of just playing and it's fun and having fun. And I think I've been forced to work on things that maybe I wouldn't have worked on before, in terms of just being a self-contained musician for the modern times. So that's production, mixing, learning some technical things, trying to be a bit more organized when it comes to certain things. I look at it as somebody who's been in the game for a long time. You're never too much of a veteran to learn from younger people who get into the mix. And when I see the level of seriousness and sort of a really good big picture that some of the younger musicians have, because they're forced to have it, they might not know when they're going to be able to have gigs. They're forced to be able to first play their instrument, but then know how to complete a song,
Right.
know how to mix it, know how to master it, know how to do it fast, understand what it's like to maybe send a bunch of music out and not have it go anywhere, but understanding how to turn things over quickly and to keep going. So I've definitely learned, there's some technical things maybe that I was afraid to take on before. Out of necessity, I have to confront them. And you know what? They're not so bad. It's like kind of fun.
Absolutely.
I never wanted to be that older guy who's like just angry at the music business. It's a privilege to play music and it's not guaranteed. So I just try to adjust with what has to go on now. And so the music has kind of kept me going.
Right on. Brockett, if you would, take MattyRocks listeners back to the early years of your life in Summit, New Jersey, and give us some insight to how music and keyboard came into your life.
Well, my mom I'd say I had to start with my mom. She's a very gifted piano player, musician, and composer. And she taught me a lot and got me really focused on. Well, let me backtrack a little bit. Let me be a bit more clear about that. My mom is a really gifted piano player, and my older brother is a really gifted trumpet player. So I was just around music when I was young, and I began playing trumpet and piano around the age of 8 or 9. And was probably more of a trumpet player through high school. And then I went back to the piano maybe when I was around 18 or 19, as far as getting a bit more serious about it, and realized I thought I had more potential as a piano player than a trumpet player. Maybe, I'd say around 19 or 20 is when I got serious.
Right on. Who were some of the musical influences early on in your life who have helped shape to make you the amazing musician and keyboardist that you are today?
I think I went through some different phases. I think when I was young, I was hearing a lot of big band music and a lot of trumpet-based stuff that I was really into going through school. So at that time, I'd say Chuck Mangione was heavily influential, as Maynard Ferguson. And because of the horns, maybe that's what led me into getting into R&B and funk, because Earth, Wind, and Fire had this, and Chicago, Earth, Wind, and Fire had this unbelievable horn section, right?
Right.
It's really in Chicago too. So, and then my mom was like always listening to some really cool classical music as well. So, George Gershwin, that stuff early on. And then when I got a bit older, I'd say when I discovered Herbie Hancock's actual piano playing with Miles Davis, I remember hearing the solo to Seven Steps to Heaven on a Miles Davis tune in the early 60s. I was like, I want to learn how to play like that, man. And then I got into Pat Metheny, Lyle Mays.
Wow.
And then in my early 20s, I got into hip hop. Once I heard Teddy Riley and Guy, Ice Cube, America's Most Wanted, Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet.
Right.
And it's crazy not to, but you know, and it's crazy that some of the groups that I listened to that really formed my interest at the time, I've managed to meet a couple of them now. And I used to be in the Third Bass, the rap group Third Bass. And this year I managed to link up with MC Search, and we're actually doing some work together in a new group, and he's awesome to work with, man.
That's so great. That's so great to see that come full circle like that.
Yeah.
And definitely some great influences that you mentioned there.
I want to Tribe Called Quest, The Low End Theory. That was a big one. That was a huge one for me right there. Because that combination of hip hop and jazz, to me, was just crazy. And oddly enough, like this year or last year when I was in Vegas, I met the piano player who actually wrote one of the biggest samples that Tribe Called Quest used. This guy named Ronnie Foster, who wrote the song, the music, and to a Tribe Called Quest tune, Electric Relaxation, which they sampled. And I got to meet the original guy who actually wrote the original music, and it was super deep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I want to touch on some of your early music experiences at Summit High School in New Jersey there, and the youth symphony that you played, and the all-state band. And I want to talk about some of those.
You're going way back.
Absolutely. I want, because really that's the formation, and I want you to tell us what were some of the takeaways, or what were some of the things that you learned from those experiences that helped prepare you to become a touring musician?
Well, I don't need to get long-winded, but there's a couple of things that come to my head right now. I think one of them is that sometimes it's not really about the music. Sometimes it's about kind of rolling with the situation. Mm-hmm. Something might not appear to be fair occasionally, and you can cry and whine about it, or you can just keep going and realize that probably everybody has to deal with some situations like that, because people are complex, situations are complex, and I think having a good sense of compromise and teamwork, you roll with it. You roll with things when something might happen that might be a little bit unexpected, and you learn to just move on. So I do remember there was an experience when I was playing in a region band. So that's the Central New Jersey region band, which is made up of like 30 towns audition for this, right? And it's like they pick the best guys. So I was playing trumpet, and it was a concert band situation. There's like 15 trumpet players, and I'm like in the middle in terms of seating. So I'm like kind of like down the pecking order. I'm like 8th or 9th or something like that. Now there's a George Gershwin solo that has to be played. And I remember the person who was first chair at that time was the one scheduled to play it. And he was having a little bit, he wasn't really totally nailing it. And so the band director said, you know what? I'm going to let all you guys play this solo. Let's have an open competition. All 15 of you guys play it. Because I guess he was kind of bummed at the dude. It was kind of tough situation for the kid to be in. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know, at the time, I didn't realize how tough that might be, but that must have been like pretty tough for a teenager to have to deal with that, right?
Right.
So the band director went on down the line. It was a George Gershwin solo. I don't think any of the other guys really played any jazz at the time. And it wasn't like I was some crazy jazz player, but I did have the music I was listening to it all the time because of my mom and my brother. So it's not like I was especially advanced when I really think about it, but I did have sort of a feel. I think I had a feel for the soul of the music though. And So when I played, I think I had an advantage over the other guys. And at the time, just because of my own personal experience, and it was what I was really into. So I like really went for it. And I made an impact. And the guy chose me to play the solo, which is great. I thought I was the man. Well, then a few days later, I guess, maybe some of the people involved in terms of the whole putting together the organization, I think they felt maybe that was a little bit, maybe not quite so cool to take the solo away from the guy who
Yeah.
had become first chair based off of a strong audition.
Right.
And so they ended up giving it back to the guy. At the time, I was bummed. And when I look back at it, the guy beat me in an audition. He should be able to play the solo. And I think maybe in today's world, maybe people wouldn't do that quite as much. Like an open challenge, sort of like it was like this jungle, like 15 guys like competing with each other in front of like a band of 80 people. And when everybody's like 16 or 17, that's like really stressful. And even though I felt good about myself that I excelled at that moment, it was a mixed feeling. I knew that I could excel when the crowd was on the line. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
When there's an audience, I felt at home, way more at home than in an audition in front of like 3 people. I was feeding off of the rest of the band's energy. But you know what? Life is also about being a good person. And I think everybody had good intentions involved. But as I look at it now, I can see how it would have been tough for that guy at the time. And maybe it was the right thing for him to actually play the solo.
Wow. Yes, absolutely. What an experience to take away from that.
So I guess what I'm saying is I learned a whole bunch of things. And I think one of the biggest ones was, 1, I like to play in front of a crowd. 2, things are complicated. You know what I mean? And there's more to just music. It's also about context and relationships and playing your position sometimes also. And, and just, you want to do your best, but you don't necessarily want to do something that you don't want to see your fellow colleagues feel down.
Yeah.
You want to lift others up.
Absolutely.
And we were put in a situation where we were kind of cutting each other's throats a little bit. And I don't know if that was the most healthy thing. Even though I liked the band director. The director, I think, he was feeling it at the moment. But I don't know. I probably would, if I was now having seen that experience, if I was in charge of a band of 80 teenagers, I probably wouldn't do that. I don't know, maybe I would. It's hard to say, but I would remember that though and try to be careful.
Right on. How rewarding is it for someone like yourself to return to your roots at Summit High School to work with the kids that are in the music program like you did recently?
Really cool. It was really cool. It was a good feeling. That's all I can say. And it was cool because I think the music program is in like really good shape, and the kids seem pretty motivated. So it was good to see, and it's pretty rewarding if I can do anything to maybe just give a kid who's like sort of on the edge of not really knowing what they want to do a little bit of encouragement. That's good. And also, if most of them are not going to be professional musicians, all I'm trying to do is just maybe make them feel like there's a reward to playing music, whether you're a pro or not. And you might, when you become an adult, you look back at that experience, even if you're like, not a soloist or you're just a section player. When are you going to get a chance to play with 70 or 80 people playing some pretty cool music with some great composers? You look back at that and that you probably think that it was a special moment. So I just wanted to make them feel the impact that maybe they could have on the rest of their lives,
Absolutely. Sounds like looks like we got some Summit kids tuned in right now because
there's a couple of guys that are like really talented kids, man, and I'm working with one of them now who graduated a few years ago, and he's doing his thing. He's killing it.
That's awesome. Good for you. What was your biggest takeaway from the P. Diddy making his band experience?
Let's see. I think one of the things I learned from that was most important is I was fortunate to do well in that in that audition. And I think that was sort of confirmation that maybe I had been on the right path previously when I was playing gigs in the city, and the type of things that I was doing when I would play with groups or asked to play a solo. And I was just confident in who I was. And for the first time, I let go of maybe trying to conform so much. So I started, I guess what I'm saying is, I'll break it down more specifically. You know, when I started out touring some years ago, I played with a R&B singer named Donnell Jones, played with another R&B singer named Glenn Lewis. This is R&B, kind of gospel-y, hip-hop based stuff, right? And it's music that I really loved. And I guess that I was always wondering if I was maybe cool enough to be in those bands. Maybe I didn't look right, you know? Maybe I just wasn't as smooth as everyone else. And I think when I finally got to the Diddy audition, I didn't worry about that anymore. And I realized that maybe I had a combination of musical elements that were unique enough where I might as well just be myself. And if they don't like it, at least I'm being the best version of myself.
Absolutely.
So if I try to worry about what someone else is doing and I try to do what they're going to do, I'm probably not going to do what they do as well as they do it, because they're just doing it because they feel it.
Right.
So instead of trying to conform to what someone else is naturally really, really good at, just conform to what you're naturally really good at. Because that's the only way to make an impact, right?
Yep.
Is for them to feel some passion coming from you. The best way to have passion is to believe in what you're bringing to the table. It takes a long time to get that kind of confidence, though. At least it did for me. Some people maybe have a more natural version of that when they're younger, which I think is good. But it took me a long time to get there. I'm still working on it.
And even some more experiences, you know, playing with those gentlemen that you talked about that helped prepare you for another big experience, you know, in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great experience, and you know, we had to do some things really quickly and work fast, and got a chance to meet a lot of great musicians that I'm still friends with today. And a lot of them are really successful.
That's awesome. Give us some insight to how the experience came to be playing for Lady Gaga.
Well, I've been playing with her for about 10 years. And all I can say is it's been life-changing, and I feel incredibly fortunate to be there, period. And I can't even really say much more. I mean, I've played over 300 performances, played dozens of TV shows, played the Super Bowl halftime show in 2017, even got a chance to play on a couple of songs on the Star is Born soundtrack. It's been amazing. And 4 world tours. It's like, I can't even believe it. I look back and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this actually like happened. Madison Square Garden like 6 times, HBO special. I'm like, still don't even believe that all this had happened.
Well, you were on the right path to music, for sure.
I will say this really quickly though. You know, I've been playing music for a long time before that. And again, that was another audition that was in New York City. That was shortly after the Diddy audition. And again, both of those auditions was maybe a change in kind of how my outlook towards how I present myself to others.
Right.
And I was able to have some confidence because I had done probably like 1,000 gigs in New York City. And I knew what worked and what didn't. So I was ready, I think. And you can't really fake confidence. Either you have it or you don't. And for me, the only way to get it was to actually put some work in and really pay my dues. And again, it's still a process. I think this is something that I'll be working on for the rest of my life.
Right on. Hard work definitely pays off.
Yeah.
And you've definitely done that. What is one thing that Gaga has taught or influenced you along the way that you have carried with you throughout these years?
I'd have to say that I think it's related to what we've been talking about. And the most important thing is I would say a common characteristic that I've seen celebrities on a large powerful scale have. I throw even Puff in that category as well, or others that I've been around, is that they are unafraid to really express themselves when it comes time to doing something. You can't exist out of fear. You just have to do what you're going to do and do it and go for it. Don't talk yourself out of it. And I think that that kind of rubbed off on me. And, if you ever get to a point where you're talking about this keyboard that I made, that I think was a direct result of maybe me seeing how awesome the scale of the whole of what she was bringing to the table. I felt like I had to kind of like bring something to the table to really justify me being special. I was working for somebody, and is still working for somebody who's extremely special. Prince, David Bowie. We're talking serious level concept, not only musically, but just the overall concert experience. And I felt if somebody can choose anybody in the world, I need to step my ability up to add something that no one else in the world can do.
And you did it.
Well, we're trying, right? Again, we're still trying.
Absolutely. I know you touched on it for just a brief second, but I'm a huge football fan, and that Super Bowl that you got to play in was probably, I think, one of my most favorite Super Bowls, especially the halftime show. But what was that experience like? I just got to know.
I mean, I'm just going to give you some cliches, man, but they're true. I didn't even believe I was there. I can't believe I'm there. In the moment, it was surreal, and I'll never forget it. And it was really, really awesome, man. It was as awesome as you might think it would be. It was awesome. I'll never forget it. I'm so glad I got a chance to do it.
Yep.
And what a life experience, man. Just tremendous.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about the circular piano arc and how that beautiful creation came to be.
So, well, I was talking to a friend of mine in the band at the time. His name was Kareem Devlin. He was a guitar player early on with Gaga. And I really respected how he viewed performance. He was a great performer, had really, really great instruments, and just knew how to act when it came to his stage performance. And so one time in a rehearsal, everybody was talking about the next tour and how we were all going to, what were the future instruments going to be that we were all going to play, or how were we going to change or add to our own personal ability to bring something to the table. And so I asked him, I said, man, what could I do that's different? And he just, like, almost as a joke, was just like, yo, man, why don't you just make a circular keyboard? And so I thought about it, and I came back to him the next day. I was like, man, I could maybe really do that. I was like, probably shouldn't even go to like a big company. Like, I think I'm going to call some friends, and we're going to maybe try to do that. He was like, yo, man, do it. So I called up some friends, a friend of mine from college who's been in the industry for a long time, a piano player and manager, engineer type, named Chuck Johnson. I asked him if he thought we could build a circular keyboard within 6 months. And he was like, whoa, that's really interesting. He goes, let me call some guys. You got a team of engineers together. And he did it. And one of those engineers that he called at the time is a gentleman named Dave Starkey, who is now, it's basically Dave Starkey and Chuck Johnson together who are doing the primary work of building all the versions of this keyboard that we started like years ago. Mm-hmm. And they continue to work on it now. So there's a company called PianoArc now.
How many different versions of it are there?
It's been like maybe, I think they're on the 4th generation.
Okay.
In terms of the actual difference, maybe 5th generation, I guess, because they did also build a half arc that actually this guy named, this really cool performer, keyboard player, DJ, Sir Foster, is the in-house entertainment for the Atlanta Hawks. And he actually, in the Hawks, actually bought the half piano arc that we call the dual wing. So it's like he's got like a Native Instruments machine in front of him, and then like two like half keyboards around him that are piano arc
Oh,
with a
cool.
Atlanta Hawks stand in front of him. Super cool looking, man.
Cool.
You know, so that was really cool.
What's your favorite thing about playing that, being inside that arc, that circle? What's your favorite thing about that?
One, I know that like it's something cool looking in terms of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's something really different. Also, technically playing it, you know, it's technically really no different than just playing three keyboards. However,
Right.
Having them all connected, just on the same plane, there is something. There is some synergy involved with it, and music is about vibe to me, as I said before. And even if something technically is not different, just the feeling that it gives you can make a tremendous difference in terms of how you express yourself. Again, as I've gotten older, I've learned so much that the mood that you're in can make such a difference in terms of your art. If you are in a good space, yeah, it can make all the difference in the world of like not wanting to do something or doing something and making something and rolling with it. And all of a sudden you got something done that you never would have had before. That's why everybody is so concerned about having a cool vibe in the studio, the lighting, you know, things looking right, everybody in the right mood. Because man, musicians, we're about vibe and feeling. And so I think the piano work can provide a really good feeling for music creation.
Right on.
Just makes
Right.
you feel like you're on some out of this world kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you've got that ability to move around, in any
Yeah,
different direction you want.
right. And also, so you have, I can really place stuff in a unique position in terms of my hands. Uh, and that's really cool too.
Well, it's definitely a beautiful piece of art, and you look great. You look great inside of it, and you sound
Oh,
good
thanks.
on it.
Appreciate that.
All right, let's shift gears to the solo music of Brockett Parsons. When did the solo music come into play? How did it take shape for you?
I got a friend named Adrian Harpin, who's a producer who lives in the city in New York. And he's an old friend of mine from Berkeley. And I don't know, one time I was just like, hey, man, would you produce a record for me? I was like, you know me so well um, that let's just do something. And he was down, and we just kind of created a record from scratch, and we finished the thing in like 4 months and released it on Rope-A-Dope Records. Shout out, and I think Rope-A-Dope, really cool label, and Lewis Marks, real visionary in the business, and it really is on the side of musicians being creative and doing what they want to do. It's good.
Now
It's
is
refreshing to have somebody like that on the business side who cares about people's artistic vision.
right. Was that Rocket Ship?
That was the Brockett Ship, yeah.
Okay. 15 tracks.
Yeah.
Um, what was the inspiration behind Rocket Ship?
I'd never done an album before. I just wanted to sort of maybe stretch out and use different elements of music that I really liked. And so I tried to kind of blend everything.
Right.
You know, it was an experiment. I just had to do it. Wasn't sure what the reception would be. But I just knew in my soul I needed to do it. I feel better now that I did it.
You got it
You
under
know,
your belt.
what's that?
You got it under your belt, and I'm sure there's more to
Yeah,
come.
yeah. And, there's so many different styles of music that I like. It was good just to do something where there was no rules, so
Yeah.
I'm glad I did that. And oddly enough, it's with some of the new music that I've been releasing, I think it's enabled some people to maybe check that out, because I'm getting more people coming to like or at least make an attempt to get more people to kind of like check out what I'm doing. And I think it's more people are actually discovering that record now than before.
Right. I want you to take an opportunity to maybe talk about some of those musicians who have played with you on that that album or play with you live, and what do some of these people bring to the studio or the stage for you?
Well, first I want to say that the producer of the record, Adrian Harpham, did a tremendous job. What I really like what he did, not only, first of all, he's an excellent drummer. So he played drums in some tracks. But in addition to that, I say how I work is I can come up with a lot of cool ideas like in the beginning. Sometimes it's a challenge for me to finish things, or maybe I like the vibe that I'm getting and then I sort of talk myself out of it and think it sucks and then I just blow it off. Well, when I was working with him, I was coming up with stuff and he was like, I was getting ready to, I was like, I would play something and then I'd go on to another idea. He goes, no, what was that? I'm like, you actually like that? He goes, yeah, man, let's develop that. If he wasn't in the room, I would have blown it off. So it's really important to create around people that you feel comfortable creating around.
Absolutely.
So it was an encouraging situation where he did a good job at allowing things to flourish that maybe I didn't recognize. It's good to have somebody like that around you sometimes. I'm not a dude like Prince where I'm so sure of what I'm doing all the time. I mean, that guy's like a genius, right? I'm not that. Sometimes I need a little help, and he gave it. He like really helped me on that. And then in terms of the actual musicians involved, besides him, some great players, man. I was really psyched to get the bass player Mono Neon on a few tracks, and he killed it. And he's doing his thing now. He's crushing it with his own music. So shout out to Mono Neon. I was really blessed to get him. Another good friend of mine, Jamario Artist on bass. He plays bass for Bruno Mars. That was great. I got James Genus, who plays bass for Herbie and is on the Saturday Night Live band, like legendary bass player. He played on a track for me. Trumpet player Brian Newman, who has been playing trumpet with Lady Gaga and doing her jazz stuff for a long time. A really awesome up-and-coming rapper, or actually he's been around a while, but he's just a straight genius, this guy named Ohini Savant. Monstrous MC. Taught me a lot about just hip-hop in general. Peter Guns, a pretty well-established rapper. He blessed me. And oddly enough, the actor Esai Morales.
Wow.
He was in La Bamba, played a major role in that movie, and he was also had a huge role in the TV show Ozark. He did a monologue for me in the beginning. That was super cool. You know, there's a few other people involved that, maybe leaving off, but
right.
A bunch of other great musicians on there as well.
Well, they all sound great. Hey, maybe some of those are some potential
Shout out to
MattyRocks.
my longtime friend and great musician, Raj, who also blessed me on a track as well, RAHJ. And we have a long history together as well.
Well, you all sound great together.
Thanks.
For sure. Brockett, where do the ideas and inspiration draw from that create all of your music?
You mean like stylistically or anything?
Yeah, I mean, you're thinking about something and you lay it down. I mean, is it life experiences? Is it, what is it? Where does it come from? Where's the depths that it comes from?
It's a good question. I guess I never really thought about it. I guess I just kind of try to do what sounds good to me. Mm-hmm. And just what I'm feeling emotionally. I think in terms of some styles, I think I gravitate towards, nice chords. And I love hip hop. I love jazz too. So it's weird, man. It's like sometimes I don't know where to go. It's like I like Radiohead just as much as I like Herbie Hancock, just as much as I like Tribe Called Quest. Just as much as I like M83.
Right.
It's like, or Bach, how do you put all that together? I don't know.
Right. Let's mix it all up.
Yeah.
So what's coming up for you musically? Because I know that you're playing a lot of new tracks. Is there something coming up for you musically down the road?
I got a new
More?
collab that I'm working on right now that's super cool. And that's with a vibraphonist. He goes by the name of Justin Vibes. And he has a huge following on TikTok. He's killed it on TikTok. He's got like 6 million followers or something. He's actually a fantastic vibraphone player. And he's working on something right now as we speak, something that I sent to him, and I'm really psyched to release that. We'll probably put something out in the next couple of months. And I was really excited to work with Danny Asadi. This is kind of a multi-instrumentalist producer slash player, artist, who blends his native Persian music, because he's Persian American, with trap. And he kind of developed this new sound called Persian trap. He's certainly capable of doing all kinds of music, but he developed a sound that I'd never really heard before. And we collaborated on a couple of things, and we recently put something out 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, a song called Forever Chasing the Sun. And we did this video where we're on the beach. I'm on the beach with a keyboard, and it's actually streaming really well, doing really well right now. So
I
shout
saw
out
it.
to Danny Asadi. He's a monster.
That was a cool video.
No, thanks. I'm glad you saw it.
And one thing I wanted to ask you about that video, you guys, I don't know what time of day you shot it. It looked like maybe the morning, or was it evening? But you had people walking in the background. It was just, and I was like, God, I wonder, how cool was that? It actually gave it a cool element.
I kind of like that, man, because it was like super real,
Yeah.
So, I have to credit Danny and his manager, Pedram, for that, because they really planned out strategically exactly how to get this done. They were really organized, and think about it, it actually took quite a bit of work to get that keyboard out there. We had to carry it by hand, like a few hundred yards.
Yeah.
And, that keyboard had to be broken up in a bunch of different places. We're carrying the thing ourselves, in the middle of COVID, on the beach, outside.
Right.
You got to set it up near the water so it looks cool. Understand when the tide is coming in so the keyboard doesn't get swallowed up in the ocean.
Right.
And then get the perfect shot when the sun is right.
Right.
So the shot that we actually used for the video, we had been there all day and taken a bunch of takes earlier. But we knew that this was the best visual that we could get. And we had already moved the keyboard once because the tide was coming in a bit more than what we had anticipated. So we already had to move the keyboard to keep it out of the ocean, right? And so we literally, the take that is seen is the last take that we could do before the sun was going to go down. So the pressure was on, man. It was like, one more take, man. We got to get this now. And this is the only shot that we have. Everything else that we got is cool, but it's probably not good enough. You got to get it so it looks good right now. And we got it done, and all these people were like watching us. It was cool, man. I love like that. It was spontaneous, man. It was dope.
It really was. And I remember I saw the first person come into the frame, and I'm like, uh-oh. But then I saw more, and I was like, you know what? That was a really cool element to the video. So hats off to you guys. You guys did amazing.
Let it go, man. Music is for everybody.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Whether you're playing it or you're enjoying it, let's just all have a good time.
Absolutely. I know I speak for many when I say this, but Brockett, I want to thank you for going live on Instagram like you do and sharing your craft with us, because there's not a whole lot of artists that do that. And so I just want to say thank you for doing that, because it gives us an insight to really what you're working on, and to really enjoy, and take part in what you do. So,
hey man, thanks. It's fun for me.
Yeah. Brockett, what will be the one key ingredient that keeps you making really good, influential music for many more years to come?
I don't know, man. I guess I just try to stay, just enjoy it. This is what I do, and just try to stay healthy physically. Try to, keep a good outlook through everything, through the way the world is right now. And it's really sustaining me. it's keeping me going, actually working on music. I mean, I've been touring for so long. I always felt that I should spend a bit more time creating. And I kind of felt like maybe I didn't create enough before. So now it gives me an opportunity to create, because obviously there's not that opportunity for touring as there's been in the past. So it keeps me sharp, it keeps me fresh, it just keeps me going. So we'll see. And I'm just trying to stay I can't say that I'm in a positive mind all the time compared to
Right.
on some unrealistic, like everything is all good. I mean, I think we all know people that maybe have even been affected, or maybe have known people that have died from all this, man. We got to be real about it. The world is in pain for real.
Yep.
So I'm not trying to downplay that, but I'm also just to keep a certain level of to stay sane. I just try to create to take my mind off of some things sometimes. And if other people feel that, then maybe we can all help each other get through the next day until there's better times.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think about it, I mean, in the world we're in right now and what's going on, this pandemic has been kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Well, the way I look at it, I think it's overall, it's a tough situation for the world. But sometimes when something is forced upon you, that's really, really tough. Maybe you try to make the best of it by evaluating what's important.
Yep.
And that's the best you can do.
Absolutely. Yep. Brockett, I want you to take kind of a think back throughout your entire musical career to date. What do you think has been your biggest musical accomplishment?
Well, that's a deep question. I gotta think about that one for a second.
You want to come back to it?
Well, a couple of things. I felt really good about playing on the song "I'll Never Love Again" on the Stars Born soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
I was really proud to be a part of that, and really fortunate. I actually feel really good about this last song that I released called "Strong, Free, and Beautiful." I feel like I finally got a full idea and organized it myself. And I've always had trouble doing that. And I like the result. That's something I feel good about. And the response has been a warm response to that. Also, the work that I've done with Danny, I think, has been super cool. And I really did enjoy doing that record with Adrian on the Brockett ship.
Right.
But playing on the Super Bowl.
You've had a lot of accomplishments. You've had a lot.
Well, I guess they're sort of they all have their space. You know what I'm saying? And playing on the Super Bowl, I'll never forget that. Maybe playing on the HBO special with Gaga, that was pretty intense.
That was a really good special too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it was. It was a special moment in performance history. Mm-hmm. Another thing that was super cool was, just some of the smaller gigs that we've done in the city as well. The Roseland Ballroom, mm-hmm. The big club in New York City that had been around for 80 or 90 years. We played like the last run of 7 nights. I think it was 7 nights in 2015, and we closed it. And that was pretty intense. That was super intense. A lot of history there. A lot of musicians hanging out. That was a great experience too. And I really thought as a band we were really locked in.
Right.
On that.
Right on. Brockett, what do you want the world to know about you and your music that maybe no one knows about? What message do you want to send about your music? What is it that you want them to know about you as a solo artist yourself?
I don't know. It's a tough one. I never really thought about it in that way. I guess I would just say that I think it's kind of incumbent upon me to just keep on creating. Mm-hmm. And if I can do a good job creating some cool stuff, people will gravitate towards it. It's kind of on me, I think, to just make some stuff that reaches people. So I don't know. It's not directly like answering your question. I don't, but I guess that's sort of the zone that I would look towards, maybe responding to that is, hey, I just want to make some cool stuff.
It's exactly it. And that's a great message. Where do you want to direct people that so we can find out, they can find out more about your music, all the great music that you're putting out and everything about you that's up and coming?
I'd say maybe two places that might be cool to land is just my Spotify, which is my name, Brockett Parsons. And I just got back into my YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to try to be a bit more active on that. And that's my name, Brockett Parsons, on my YouTube channel. And I would say, those are the two places where I'm really going to try to focus a lot of my energy, trying to take some of the action maybe that's been generated on Instagram and use that to tell people about these other platforms.
Right on. Okay, everyone, go check them out. Brockett, I'm going to give you the same opportunity that I have that I sit with every artist one-on-one with, and that is a message to MattyRocks listeners who are going to potentially hear and see this interview. Brockett, what would you like to say to them?
Well, I just want to say, hey, it's been cool. I've really enjoyed the interview. On a personal note, I thought you did a great job.
Thank you.
You're a real professional, and you're serious about what you do, man. So that was evident in just the method by which you did this. So that was really cool. And I'd say just anybody listening, I think this is where I'll quote something that's happening in real time in life right now. I think a lot of us are really moved by Chick Corea, who just passed away. And that dude was the GOAT of all GOATs as far as playing keyboards, in my opinion. But what a great, enriching life that guy had, and just a positive impact he had on so many musicians. This guy was a giant. But I was in the room with him once, but I never actually spoke to him. A friend of mine played on a gig with him, and I got a chance to hang. But just the energy that I saw that he had amongst other people, he seemed pretty damn humble. And this is maybe, probably the biggest, outside of classical music, he's like maybe the biggest, most well-known piano player in the world. It's kind of like a toss-up between him and Herbie, probably, right?
Right.
And so when you talk about the overall impact that he had on the world of music, if that guy can be humble and that guy can be positive and have a good mindset and enjoy the creative process and encourage others to enjoy the creative process, hell, man, that's what I want to do.
Right.
Might not be able to, we all can't be as good as Chick Corea because he's the greatest of all time. But the thing about Chick Corea that was important, it wasn't just that he was one of the greatest of all time. He was one of the greatest of all time, and he was also, I don't know, it just seemed like a cool guy.
Yep.
There's just a feeling, a lack of pretension coming from what he was doing that's beyond the music. You know what I mean? And I want to we should all try to keep that legacy alive too. Like, I don't have maybe the capability to be in the same universe as that dude, right? But in terms of trying to put a good vibe out there, it doesn't really matter how good you are. We can all still put a good vibe out there.
Absolutely.
That's more important than actually how good you are.
Great message, and may he rest in peace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brockett, thank you so much for taking the time out of your night to join me for this conversation. It was truly an honor to have the privilege to sit with you, and continued success to you in everything that you've got going on in your musical arena going forward.
Oh, I appreciate that. Just real quick, I just noticed that my boy Chris is on here. He's actually one of the guys from Summit that I was talking about before.
Okay.
And so actually, I just played on one of his tracks. There's a group called Astronomical, and they're doing some really cool things too. I neglected to mention that, but again, the new generation, I think, is in good hands.
Absolutely. Brockett, I hope that you and I can stay in touch and on some more of your upcoming music. Let's get some of this out on some of the internet stations that I'm affiliated with around the world, and
great.
get some of your music in rotation from Los Angeles all the way to Australia.
Hey, man, that's a great thing. I really appreciate the positive vibes, and to all the people listening out there, you're good at what you do, man. So it was a pleasure.
Thanks, Brockett. I appreciate that. You've heard it here, MattyRocks listeners. The MattyRocks experience with Brockett Parsons closing it out. Thanks again, Brockett.
All right, take care. I'll talk to you soon.
And have a safe rest of your 2021, and I hope to stay in touch.
You too, man. It was a pleasure.
MattyRocks out.
You got it.
Wow, what a great interview with him. So privileged to have that opportunity with Brockett, and I can't thank him enough for that. I hope you guys definitely tune in, and I'll have this video up on my Instagram channel. For those of you that may have missed some of it, you can definitely watch the rest of it. So I hope you enjoyed the interview, and next week I have another great interview coming up. So I hope you tune in next week as well, and we will talk to you very soon. MattyRocks out.